Alright, so we looked at some 3D aspect of Fusion, and we'll come back to this. This is the room that we left, I think, last. Um, uh, don't pay attention to Blue and how he got in here. We'll actually walk through that. But just the room and the lights and all that we walked through, how the scene actually fits in here. And you have the geometry here, the projection. You can see the projection behind the wall here, but you don't see that when you are looking through the camera, right? Because this object is blocking it. But now you see how the light is bouncing off of this the objects. You can see the light bouncing off of the console here, game console, and also some of the other objects. Let's go back to the volume tools. Go back to this world position pass file again and see how else can we use this inside Fusion for volume fog and volume masks. So you have here the file feeding into this channel booleans node into the foreground and the background, and for channels, color channels, I'm saying do nothing for all the RGB and alpha. And for auxiliary channels, I am turning on X position, Y position, and Z position, which is the information that is embedded in this EXR file that came from Maya. So now from channel booleans, it is taking into these 3 nodes. But before we go there, let's just create a new volume mask tool, and I don't need it part of this network here. I'll just leave it here and feed this into volume mask. Now I'm going to turn my viewport into the 2 viewports, and here I'm going to see my WPP node for now, and here I'm going to see the volume mask. Now you don't see any difference when you just start it. That's because it doesn't say mask only. It says that view everything. So now as soon as you say mask only, you just see the mask. Now here is by default a mask created at 000 value, right? That's the RGB representation of the origin. So what we want to do is actually, let's create a little larger size, and now you see the 3D aspect of it, and use our picker tool here to pick a position where you want this mask. So let's pick the position here, just to drive the point that how the 3D aspect works. You can kind of see that it's blocked by some of the geometry, and that's good. That would be very handy in a minute. Now I'm going to go and choose this file here as our source, but before that I want to apply something. Let's say I want to do a color corrector. Feed this into color correction node, and let's view that over here. Now we don't see any change because we haven't really done anything to the color correction. But before we do that, I want to apply this node volume mask as the effect mask for color correction. Now as soon as you play around with color correction, you note here that the color correction is applied only to the part where the volume mask is applied. Let's go back to the volume mask and soft the image edges a little. Now this is great. You can already see a possibility that maybe there is a window that is casting light inside the room, and there are all sorts of applications that you can come up with. The one that I thought of as I had my interest here into relighting of the scene is that without even going through all these things that I did here, you can have a rough relighting happening right here. Let's change the volume mask to a sphere, right? And now you can imagine that this may be a spotlight, and what I'm going to do is unlock X, Y, and Z values here for the scale, and then imagine that the light is coming from the top, right? So here is the top. I'm going to manage the X side of the 3D, and I'm going to control the Z a little bit like this, and maybe move the whole light into the Y position. You can make it go up or bring it down, right? So now you have a representation of a light coming from the top. The thing is that because we have in our world position pass blue walking through, what I'm going to do is bring blue, the character which is right here, into the shot that we are building here, right? So this blue, let's branch him off. Oh, actually I need to zoom out further a little bit. Okay, so let's branch him off and merge with this one here, right? So now what you have is blue, walking through this door. Now I'm not going to actually apply the mask here. Okay, I'm going to actually remove this node. Just bear with me for a minute and apply it afterwards, right? Zoom in a little. I don't need another merge here. Delete that and apply this into color correction. Here is the color correction, and I'm going to now take the volume mask and apply onto this node into the effect mask, right? So now you have exactly the same thing here that we saw earlier, but this is for the whole shot. So now you can see that the brightness and contrast change that you are applying here is actually applied to the whole mask, including blue, because blue is walking through this light. And as he walks through, you can see that he is completely lit up. And then, now he's outside of that lit up area. Now he's in, right? Now you can also change the lighting to show as to what, just not normalize it, color light do you want, right? And you can see that color applied to blue himself, as blue is half inside this area, half, he still is, his head is in the air, right? His head is not part of this wall, but you can see that the volume mask which is covering this 3D space is so effective that it is even it even has the application here in this air, and as soon as something passes by through that air, it's going to apply the color correction on that surface, and as soon as that character is out of the colorized area, you lose the effect. So it's a very powerful tool from that perspective. You can do a lot of different things, and the beauty is that as you scrub through the scene here, you can see that the volume mask is actually sticking to its position in the 3D space, and that's very helpful when you are trying to get into the 3D compositing inside of Fusion. Alright, so that's that, and I'm going to stop here, and in the next video we'll look at the other tool, which is the volume fog, and see how that volume fog is applied. And it's very powerful in itself. It has the input for 3D and the lights also that we'll walk through. Alright, thanks a lot.